So I guess today we're talking about the difference between like a beginner bike and a more experienced bike. Is that kind of what you were thinking?
Yep. I think that's good. So I'm on the 2022 Z400 and you're on
the 2020 Yamaha Tracer 900 GT, which is a fantastic and overlooked bike, I think.
Why overlooked?
I just don't think it's on a lot of people's radars. It's kind of has that adventure styling, but it's more of a sport bike, I would say, a sport tourer.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely very upright. Your seating position is very upright.
It's very comfortable. Very comfortable motorcycle. But it definitely has a sporty engine. It's the same platform as the MT-09 or FZ-09. They just made some changes to the ergonomics essentially, and there's a few design changes that they made that make it ride a little bit smoother, a little bit better at high speeds, and it's not as wheelie prone as the MT-09 is. It does like to...
It has that awesome massive windscreen.
It has an, yeah, on mine it does. The stock windscreen is pretty pathetic. It doesn't do much, it just...
The first difference is right there. I mean, first gear when you take off, it's like, oh man, I can't keep up.
And then this is my like third gear pull.
Okay, this is my pull.
And it's just... I mean, I was probably down at, I don't know, 3,000 RPM, but that's not its max HP range, but it still has tons of torque on tap.
Yeah. Do you know how much torque your bike has? Mine has, I think, 25 foot-pounds of torque.
Mine, I think, is around 100, but I'm not, I'll have to check that. It's a lot.
Yeah, we can put it on the screen later. We'll put the specs up on the screen.
We'll see how far off I am. I do know it has 112 horsepower.
Okay.
And it's a cross-plane triple is what they call it. They call it the CP3 engine. It's about 870 cc's. They call it the 900, but you know how bike manufacturers love to round up their figures.
It makes you feel better.
It does, yep. So I mean, it's approaching a liter bike size, which I don't think anybody that's new to motorcycling should get anything near 1,000 cc motorcycle. I think that's pretty reckless.
No. Yeah, no. I've been scared to get on your bike still.
Yeah. I don't know. It behaves pretty good if you ride it in the lower RPM range, but if you get up in the higher 7,000 to 8,000 RPM range, that's when it really starts to light you up.
That's when the power kicks on.
Yeah, let's see. We'll get up there now.
Alright, I'm in fourth gear, 8,000 RPM, and you are just pulling away from me. I'm giving it full throttle, and you're just pulling away from me.
I think that was maybe half throttle.
Wow.
And away I go. So, I mean, there's rarely a time when I hit full power on this thing. It's not really necessary.
Yeah.
The front end likes to get a little loose too, or it'll pop the front tire up if you really give it the beans, which is exciting.
Not advised.
Maybe not advised, but it sure is fun. But I don't know, I typically keep it around 5,000 to 6,000 RPM and just kind of am gentle with it. It's very pleasant at that range. It just cruises along like nothing.
Yeah, so with my bike, I try and keep it at like 7,000 to 8,000 RPM. Just because that's where I feel like, okay, now it has a little bit of power, you know? enough power to go. Below that, it's, you know, it's pretty laggy.
And here we're approaching this kind of long sweeping uphill turn. So I'll drop myself down to like 4,000 and just kind of sink into this turn.
You're at 4,000 RPM in 4th gear?
I'm about 6,000 right now at 65 miles an hour, so.
Yeah, I'm at 8,000 at 60 miles an hour.
And it's really comfortable in the corners. It just kind of lean it over a little bit, just point it where you want it to go, and it just does it. It doesn't complain at all. It's a nice bumpy turn here, which it does fine. I think the traction control kicks in a little bit and maybe saves me in some of these corners when I want to go a little faster.
So your bike has ABS and traction control?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
And the ABS is always on. The traction control has 2 different modes. There's a mode 1 and mode 2. Mode 1 is what I ride in because it's a little less obtrusive. Mode 2 is kind of like your rain mode. And then you can switch traction control off, and that's when things get kind of spicy and fun.
Yeah. So then in mode 2, in the rain mode, do you feel like there's less power?
Not less power, but you can definitely feel it kind of assist you once in a while. Like if you go hard on the throttle in a corner, it kind of like almost like pumps the brakes on you, or it just affects how the throttle is working. It feels very computer assisted.
Jeez.
Yeah, so that was kind of I don't know, it was like another half throttle pull. I wasn't pushing it too hard.
I was full throttle up through the gears, and you were
yeah, I was in 3rd gear
pretty quick
at 75 miles an hour. So it'll just go. It's a fun bike. It's definitely, you could get into trouble, I think, if you were inexperienced or if you just lost control of it. It would make you pay for it.
And that's the thing I love about this bike, actually. You know, I talked about this on the last video, where I feel like if I was on a higher CC bike, I would get in trouble. I would have gotten in trouble a few times. I know it. And with this bike, I feel like, okay, thank you. You know, the low power kind of saved me a couple times.
And I know something that doesn't come across on the video, but this bike has a quick shifter, which I used for that last pull. And that just makes it so nice when you just want to, you know, take off, or if you just don't want to touch your clutch and you're just going, you can just kick up the gears as you go.
So with the quick shifter, which I thought about adding to this, with the quick shifter, you just let off the throttle, switch the gear up.
No, you don't even have to let off the throttle. You just kick it up and the bike does it for you. There's a future friend of the channel. Yeah, so on this bike, it likes to quick shift after 5,000 RPM. I feel if you do it before then, it's very, very clunky, and it just doesn't like to do it. It'll do it, but it's not ideal, I would say.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think for a quick shifter, anything below 5,000 RPM is kind of pointless, right?
Yeah, sure. You're shifting before you reach your peak power for that gear, so it doesn't make sense to do it at all.
Yeah. Quite a bit of haze out there.
Yeah, it's a hazy day.
All right, so we're gonna go ride through the Alpine Loop, which is a great ride.
Fantastic ride.
We've ridden it, what, twice now?
I think so, yeah. And this is the best time of year to do it. We're like approaching mid-October. The leaves are in full color change mode. It's just an excellent place to ride. It's not a place that you can just cruise at 60 or 70 miles an hour though. You have to be a little bit careful through it. The roads are kind of narrow and you're going through tunnels of trees.
Lots of switchbacks.
Lots of switchbacks. Lots of big pickup trucks coming around the corner, so you got to watch out for that.
And lots of mountain bikers as well.
So we'll be heading up that canyon in a few minutes now, just making our approach.
Making our approach. You're clear for takeoff.
Oh, hello.
Yeah, you know, with this bike, I've never felt like, oh man, there's no power, there's not enough power. You know, a couple of times I felt like, yeah, I wish there was a little more power just for fun, but I've never felt like, oh, I need more power to, you know, get around a car or to really get up to speed. This bike there's enough power.
And that's kind of my main argument for getting a bigger bike. Maybe even when you're starting out, getting a 650, because having enough power on tap to get out of the way or to pass cars, I think is really important. But it definitely depends on the kind of bike you buy and the engine that's in that bike, because a Honda Shadow 650 is going to be a lot different than a sport bike with a 650 engine in it, or a 400 even.
For sure. Even the Kawasaki, the 650 engines, if you take the engine from the Z650 or the Ninja 650, it's the same engine that's in the Vulcan, and there's a big difference in the riding of those bikes. Woo! I mean, is there really anything more enjoyable than this? Is there, honestly?